Good evening and welcome to Arizona Illustrated for Tuesday, the 22nd of May, 2012. I'm Tony Paniagua. We have been hearing about the bleak job market for years, but there is a big demand for qualified workers in some areas, and nursing is one of them. Among the reasons are an aging population which will need additional health care. Luis Carrion has that story.
Okay, right this way. Go and have a seat. How are you doing today? Good.
The nursing profession is a diverse field, and in spite of the ongoing recession, nurses have enjoyed a high level of job security.
Relax that arm.
The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics now has projected employment growth of 26% among registered nurses through the year 2020.
Nice blood pressure.
We're very lucky in nursing because we're seen as a growth industry.
Joan Shaver is the dean at the University of Arizona College of Nursing. She says graduates of the program are in high demand, and there are several factors that are driving the increased need for nurses.
There's the issue of potentially, with healthcare reform, bringing more people into an insured status and therefore accessing more care. The baby boomers are entering, of course, older age. But one thing to remember is that nurses are also part of those cohorts. With the aging of the population and needing more care, but the aging of the nursing workforce, therefore seeing a rather rapid rise potentially in retirements, those two things coming together actually will create a change in demand.
An increase in demand is something that Shaver says many people are becoming aware of.
Then back down.
Here at the U of A's College of Nursing Accelerated Master's Entry Program, applications for admissions are high, and only a small percentage get admitted.
My name's Mary Walk, and I'm a Tucson native, born and raised here, and I was in banking prior to getting accepted to the university. So I did 13 years in the financial industry.
Yeah. Isn't it cool?
Mary Walk is an example of some of the types of students that are attracted to the accelerated program. She has a degree in another field, she has a young family, and she's accumulated some life experience. She hopes to transition into an environment that will allow her to develop a new career.
My twins are 7 now, so it took a little while to get there because it just always felt like, okay, I have brand new babies, I can't, jump into a whole new field. But with the financial crisis, I was like, this might be a good time to pursue something that I'm going to be really interested in. So,
what I'm first going to do is, my name is Patrick Fitzsimmons. I have a degree from the U of A, a Bachelor of Science. I'm from Hoboken, New Jersey. Retired police officer and former Marine.
Patrick Fitzsimmons says he was motivated to enter the program in part because of his wife's experience as a nurse.
I've been wanting to get into the medical field for a while. Like I said, I'm a retired police officer. So I've been around it. I've worked with nurses and EMTs, and I was always attracted to it. 78. Yeah. Since my wife graduated, she has given me golden reviews of all the instructors and the U of A nursing program.
Do you have any allergies?
This is the very first class. This is their physical assessment class where we teach them how to actually inspect a patient, listen to their heart rate, their lungs, and learn how to actually assess a patient right off the bat. No, they're feeling too much.
Jetta Bowles is a faculty member at the University of Arizona College of Nursing.
Oh, you had it right the first time.
She says the students here are only in the 3rd day of the accelerated program, but they're already in the lab, gaining the experience that will ultimately put them out into the workforce.
I've been teaching clinicals for about 8 years, and I've been seeing over the last couple years we're getting more males back into the field, which is good. Last year the age group average was like 36. This age group is 26. So it's interesting that the younger ones are coming back sooner.
All right, so now what we're going ahead and do is we're going to check your blood pressure.
We've always had a low rate of Hispanics, but I see a trend of that changing, that we're having more Hispanic females coming into the field.
The nursing students in this class will enter a profession that is evolving and will likely look different from nursing as we've come to know it. Shaver says nurses are increasingly being called upon to provide a more sophisticated healthcare service, one that allows them to play a more prominent role in the health of the patient.
In healthcare in general, we're trying to figure out the ways for us not to have people in our most expensive forms of care. It means that in nursing that we're moving much more into positions in which we're supporting people to prevent them from getting sick, either from getting worse if they are sick or from getting sick if they are well.
So at this point, should I
Nursing may be evolving, but the statistics show that demand will continue to grow. And for the students in this class, it's not too soon to think about what position may be in store for them in the future.
I'm thinking about trying to get into the operating room or perhaps an emergency room. Maybe if I survive this program, I'll go on to get a certificate in anesthesia.
With my background in finance, and I have an MBA too, I would really like to get more into the management side, but I want to put my time in as a nurse and, do all that.
You definitely do it for a minute. Mm-hmm.
This class at the U of A College of Nursing will graduate in a little more than a year. Okay. And by all accounts, they can look forward to one of the fastest growing job markets.
Yes.
And what do you do?
Joining me to continue the conversation is Terry Badger. She is a professor and division director of community and systems health science at the University of Arizona College of Nursing, and she also works at the Arizona Cancer Center. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So we just watched the piece about this accelerated group in which a diverse group of students are becoming nurses. How common is this now at the university in different areas?
Well, certainly in response to the nursing shortage in 2003, we decided that we needed to have an accelerated program. In other words, take people who have degrees in other fields and to make them into nurses. And this is our second year of having a master's entry to the profession of nursing program. We are the first in Arizona to have that. And in 15 months, someone who has a degree in another field will become an entry-level nurse. And so we're really excited about it because they bring a wealth of experience and they are really a diverse group of students.
And we were talking about that just prior to this interview, about the number of people from different fields. You have an attorney in one case and lots of other people with different backgrounds?
Certainly. We have a chiropractor and an attorney, and we have a number of people with master's degrees in, for example, gerontology, which is wonderful considering our growing aging population. And so about a fifth of our students have master's or PhDs or some other degree, and we think that they're going to bring a wealth of information and really bring new and exciting people into the healthcare profession.
And the university is also working in the Phoenix area on an accelerated group as well?
Yes, we have a class of 18 up in Phoenix. This again is our inaugural year, and we are really excited that we are on the biomedical campus up in Phoenix as well as down here in Tucson.
So one of the reasons that there is going to be such a need for nurses in the future is because many of them are retiring. We have some figures, about 250,000 nurses are expected to retire in the next 10 to 15 years?
Correct. Just like all the other boomers, they're going to be retiring at unprecedented numbers. And so we at the colleges of nursing across the country have to start producing more entry-level nurses to replace them.
And these people who become nurses, what areas can they work in? Because it's not just one generic job for everybody. There's a lot of different fields that they can go into.
Well, that's the beauty of nursing, is that you can really work with a variety of different populations in a variety of different areas. They could work in urgent care. They could work in primary care clinics. They could work in the hospital. They could work in public health. There's just a wide variety of jobs out there. And I think it's really sort of a wide open field for nurses.
And with more education, they can become nurse practitioners. What is that, and what can those people do?
Okay, a nurse practitioner is a nurse with an advanced degree. She's an advanced practice nurse. You probably are familiar with nurse practitioners if you've gone to an urgent care or if you've gone to one of those clinics at one of your local pharmacies. Well, what you're seeing is a nurse practitioner. And here at the College of Nursing, we have a Doctorate of Nursing Practice program, which educates nurse practitioners in the fields of family nurse practitioner, pediatric nurse practitioner, acute care nurse practitioner, and psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. And we have increased our program by 58% in the last year and a half, just so that we can also increase the number of nurse practitioners available to the public.
So if somebody watches this story and this interview, and they're interested in sort of pursuing this as a career, what would you recommend to him or her? Somebody who's either been working in a different field for many years or just graduated with a bachelor's degree from the university or somewhere else?
Well, the first thing I would recommend is go to our website. That's always a good thing because we have all the information. Certainly you can contact our Office of Student Affairs. What we're looking for are people with degrees. They've got a decent GPA. They're going to have to take science courses if their degree is maybe in religion or sociology or something. But once they have our prerequisites and once they have their previous degree, then certainly we're very interested in having them apply to our program.
And you think it'll be obviously a worthwhile effort because it seems like there will be a lot of job security in the future.
There will be a lot of job security, and it's also, I think, just a growing field. As we look at the projections going forward, there's only going to be more and more nursing jobs as our population ages, as more nurses retire. Quite frankly, we could double the number of students we currently have and probably still not meet the demand.
And on another topic, you recently received a grant from the American Cancer Society to study breast cancer. Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
Yes, this is a supportive care intervention that we would like to offer to Latinas with breast cancer and their family members and friends. And we will be accepting patients for that study in August. But again, what we would like to do is to provide them some supportive care services to help them deal with some of the anxiety and psychological distress that's related to undergoing treatment for breast cancer.
And this is one of those cases in which being a bilingual person could actually be very beneficial as well as in nursing?
Exactly. There's always the demand for nurses who have bilingual skills. And certainly, as a matter of fact, all of the people participating in my research study, all the staff are bilingual so that they can provide the services. And we do it over the telephone, so it's a real easy way to get services for yourself.
And if somebody's interested in that study, how do they get in touch?
They can certainly email me on my website, or they can, again, call the College of Nursing, and we'd be happy to talk to them.
Okay, Dr. Terry Badger, nurse here at the University of Arizona, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Coming up, Neil Ferguson asks how Western civilization managed to rule the world throughout the whole of modern history.
500 years ago, Western Europe embarked on 5 centuries of uninterrupted expansion.
But could we be witnessing the end of Western domination?
Today, the world seems inexorably to be tilting to the east.
Civilization.
Tonight at 8 on PBS HD, Arizona Public Media.
We have been talking about the local and national shortage of nurses and the opportunities for students who go into this field. Now we'll continue the conversation from the perspective of doctors. For that, we are joined by Dr. Robert Goldfarb. He is a neurosurgeon with Carondelet Neurological Institute in Tucson. Doctor, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So based on the information that you've been able to gather, it seems like you're not very optimistic about the next few years when it comes to the medical field.
We are headed toward a perfect storm because of a doctor shortage over the next few years. The shortage of doctors are going to be a problem for access to health care over these next 10 years. Just as an example, 1/3 of physicians who are currently practicing will be retiring over the next 10 years. We train in the residencies approximately 20 to 22,000 new physicians a year, but we need about 40,000 a year. 65 and over baby boomers. There'll be 10,000 baby boomers every day over the next 10 years who will be entering that category, 65 and over. So the system is going to be overwhelmed with, and we have a shortage of doctors now. We expect a shortage of about 124,000 doctors over the next 10 years.
And you were telling me prior to this interview also that Arizona has its own particular set of problems as well.
Arizona does. Just to give you an example, in Pima County, we have about 50 primary care physicians for each 100,000 portion of the population. Nationally, that is 80 primary care physicians per 100,000. So we already have less physicians than nationally. And that's for a number of reasons.
And what are some of those reasons?
One of the reasons is that we really have a shortage of what we call residency spots for training physicians in Arizona. We have about 800 residency slots that should be available but are not. And the reason for that is that Congress put a cap on funding for graduate medical education, which is the residencies, back in 1997. So Arizona is behind in the number of doctors that it can train in the residencies. Once you graduate from medical school, you still go on to residency training, anywhere from 1 to, say, 9 years, depending on whether you're a neurosurgeon or cardiovascular surgeon. It may be 7 to 9 years, and some of the other specialties are only a year or two. The educational costs have increased tremendously for medical students. An average medical student now has about $150,000 in debt when he or she finishes medical school. If you then go into the residencies that I mentioned, anywhere from 1 to 9 years, add another $150,000 to $250,000 to be in debt. So when a physician now finishes his residency, medical school, and goes out into practice, he or she has to repay this debt. And Arizona has some special problems. The first is that Medicare reimburses physicians in this region less than, for instance, in the Northeast, and also less than in Florida. We also have high malpractice insurance rates compared to California and compared to Texas. In fact, Texas in 2004 passed tort reform. That has lessened the cost of malpractice insurance in the state of Texas by 40%. So if you have a doctor who's finishing his training, he gets reimbursed less in this region, his rates are higher for malpractice, he's going to go elsewhere. So we can turn out more and more physicians in this state, but we'll be training them to go other parts of the country.
And what are some possible solutions for the future?
Well, we need Medicare to have a reasonable, realistic formula for reimbursing physicians. Doctors who are primary care doctors who only have a Medicare practice can barely meet ends meet because of low reimbursement. There are some well-known clinics that have stopped taking Medicare patients because it costs more to treat the patient than they receive in Medicare reimbursement. We need tort reform. We need to be able to lessen the malpractice insurance rates so that physicians can begin to pay back the debts for very high costs of a medical education.
If you could make a recommendation or a few recommendations for a prospective medical student, what would you tell him or her?
I would tell him or her that going into medicine is a wonderful thing to do. But the expenses are such currently, and the reimbursement rates are low, that they have to be able to know that when they get out that they're going to be able to repay their debt and be able to practice and care for their families.
So they have to put finances in that equation as well.
They certainly have to think about it. When you have the debt of anywhere from $150,000 to $400,000, you've got to pay it back. And about that age, after they've been in training for a number of years and they're in their mid-30s or older and starting a family, the expenses can be tremendous on young physicians.
All right. Well, Dr. Robert P. Goldfarb, thank you very much for being here. Interesting conversation, and we'll have you here in the future again.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Many people dream of someday going to outer space, but for a former University of Arizona student, the sky is no longer the limit. The student just graduated with his law degree, and he recently earned the chance to go on a suborbital spaceflight. And it took more than just winning a contest. He also had to submit himself to a series of difficult challenges that were used to find the best candidates from over 50,000 entries. Here is Mark McLemore with that interview.
And now welcome Gregory Schneider. Thanks so much for coming to the studio.
Well, thank you for having me.
Tell us when this adventure got started for you.
Well, it was last August. I was looking into buying my first telescope, and on one of the websites they had a banner ad saying you could win a free trip to space. So, of course, I clicked on it and submitted my name into the Space Needle's Space Race 2012 competition. And it turns out 50,000 other people did as well.
And there was a process of narrowing the number of contestants down to a more manageable number, and then there were some physical and even scientific challenges involved. Tell us a little bit about what you went through physically to win this opportunity.
Sure. So once we got to Seattle, there were 5 of us who were flown to Seattle by the Space Needle. On the very first day, they took us to a place called iFly Seattle, which is an indoor skydiving place, and they have a vertical wind tunnel. So we had to learn how to maneuver inside the wind tunnel and move forwards and back and spin in circles, up and down. And for beginners like us, they blow the wind at about 100 miles per hour. But for the more advanced people, it's more like 160 or 170, which is, it's crazy to feel that much pressure pushing you up and actually floating there.
Had you ever had an experience like that before?
No, definitely not.
Have you ever had an issue with heights in your life? Is that a problem for you?
No, not really. I feel pretty fortunate to not get total vertigo when I look down over something. Sure, I feel a little nervous in my gut, like anyone does, but it's not overpowering.
Well, you were up pretty high on the final part of the challenge when you were on the Space Needle itself. Tell us about that.
Yes, so the last day, when it was down to 2 of us, they had us first climb up the antenna of the Space Needle on the roof of it. So by the time you get to the top, it's about 605 feet up in the air. And you have this great view of the city, but the climb up is a little precarious as there are metal bars going up the antenna that are maybe 1/4 or 1/2 inch thick, and it was pretty cold that morning. And then the second part was climbing out onto the halo of the Space Needle, which is only 520 feet up. And we had to climb out over these slats that are about 4 or 5 inches apart. And as you're climbing out, you look down and you can see straight down, and there's just nothing there between you and falling. We had safety harnesses on our back, but that was probably the scariest part of the day. But then we got out onto the halo, and we had to walk around and answer 10 space trivia questions while managing the fear and the excitement of being up 520 feet on the edge of this building.
How'd you do on the questions?
I did really well. I got 8 out of 10 right.
Did you find yourself at any point in this experience questioning your desire to finish the challenge?
No, not at all.
You were there to win.
I was definitely there to win, and I think you learn a lot about yourself when you push yourself to the limits like that, and I definitely learned that I have a lot more strength and courage than I thought I did.
Oh. Well, let's outline the parameters of the spaceflight that you'll be taking. Tell us about the company that's put behind this contest and also what you can expect yourself when you finally get your chance.
Sure. So the company that's actually doing the trip is called Space Adventures, headed by a guy named Eric Anderson. And so the idea is to have an actual rocket that will launch 2 people up 62 miles into the sky, which is NASA's definition of outer space. And then you'll stay up there for about 6 minutes, and you get to release your harnesses and float around and experience zero-G and hopefully get some great photos of the experience. And then you start coming back down. And at least the test flight videos I've seen, they've actually done it so that you would land just inches from where you took off, which is pretty amazing to me, the engineering that has to go into that.
Well, while you were taking on the challenges of going into space, you were also facing the challenges of graduating from law school. Congratulations on being, as you said, a freshly minted graduate. And you met your wife here in Tucson and settled down here. So tell us about your family.
Sure. I met my wife at a restaurant called the Ventana Room. She was the chef there, and I was one of the servers. And we hit it off pretty much right away and totally fell in love and got married a little under a year later. And so we have 2 children and a third on the way. And Emmy is 7, Jude is 3, and obviously the baby is not here yet. But
well, at 7 years old, Emmy is obviously very aware of what's going on with you, and is she looking forward to seeing her daddy off into space?
Yeah, definitely. She's very excited. She's a little bit nervous about me going up and not coming back, but I've assured her they're not going to send me up unless it's safe. And even space accidents are very rare in terms of how often. So the likelihood of anything going wrong is pretty low.
Well, we'll be watching certainly down here when you do take your flight and following this story as it progresses. Thanks for joining us to tell us about your exciting adventure.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks, Gregory.
In tonight's video, postcard photographer and editor Santiago Batti takes us to the morning of the 6th of May after multiple celebrations on Cinco de Mayo. It may not sound like an ideal time to participate in a 10-kilometer race for many people, but many dedicated runners turned out. You can get more news and information on our website, azpm.org. To comment on any story you saw tonight, click on it online and go to the bottom. We can also be reached via Facebook and Twitter. Coming up tomorrow night, you've heard the numbers about the rising population of Hispanic residents in the United States. Tomorrow, we'll tell you about the Latino purchasing power in this country. Also, a growing number of followers are using yoga to fight depression. I'm Tony Paniagua. Have a great night.